Chris from a Bevy of Bloods here. This 2022 season review is dedicated to the magnificent Kenny Williams, the Swans' most storied and beloved fan. His love for red and white was palpable, his smile was infectious, and his energy was always bursting with positivity. There will never be one like our Kenny. Our love goes out to Yvonne and the whole Williams family.
What does the footy club mean to you, Kenny?
Everything, my life, everything. I just live for this footy club. I live for the boys, the players. I love me footballers. I always will. I get very emotional. I don't know how many hours sleep I've lost when we've been getting beaten, but all the same, it's great. I love it.
And can the Swannies win the flag this year?
Of course they can. Don't worry about that. They're hard, they're tough, they're mean. And even without you, Kirky, they can do all right. Don't you worry about that.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to a Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club. My name's Noddy, joined today by Stevo and Jules, and in this special episode, number 58, we're going to be reviewing the Sydney Swans 2022 season. So to all you Cygnets and Swanlings out there, fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. Righto, Stevo, Jules, how are ya? Have you recovered yet?
Yeah, I guess so. It's been a while, and I don't know. The more I think about it, the more it was a grand final I didn't really expect to get at the start of the year, and we still got to enjoy the whole week and the build up, and the fact that we're still one of the two best teams. So yeah, I'm gradually getting over it.
Yeah, I am as well. I think time does heal all wounds. After 2 months of comfort eating, I think I'm now ready to move forward and get excited about next season.
Well, I can tell you both that I think I probably had the spicy cough on the way down there, and I was crook as for about 10 days, which I don't know if it was like a physiological thing, but I was rubbish. Like I was depressed. I was down in the doldrums. But yeah, like you guys, I think I've finally come around. I'm seeing some of those photos of the boys on holidays, and you know, when we got to see the AFLW girls have a good hit out, and yeah, no, I'm in a good position right now. So I just want to say thanks for joining me today in this special episode. We've got Chriso in production. He's ready to jump in when required, but here we are. We're going to look at the season in totality, and we're going to start off with a few of those end-of-year awards. So we're going to kick off with the announcement, club champions. Jules, do you want to let us know how we went there, top three, and then you can list out the other players if you want?
Yeah, absolutely. So in first place, probably came as no great surprise to all of us, but the Bob Skilton medalist was Callum Mills. And second place getter, absolute bolter this year, Chad Warner. And our third place getter, another absolutely amazing improvement from James Rowbottom. Rounding out the top 10 was then Lukey Parker, Isaac Heaney, Tom McCartan, Errol Goulden, Jake Lloyd, Dane Rampy, and Ollie Florent.
Yeah, nice one. I think, as you said, Millsy, that was sort of, I think we all knew that was probably going to happen throughout the season. And, but those other two, as you say, they were sort of genuinely pleasant surprises, weren't they? But if we compare those results to the ABOB rankings, so obviously throughout the season we give our our top three on ground. It's pretty close. Actually, the top five are the same. The order is different. So in first we had Mills on 26 points, Parker also in first on 26 points, Chad in third on 24, and then a big drop off, Heaney in fourth on 9, and Rowbottom equal fourth in 9. And then for us to round out the 10, we had Papley, Franklin, Goulden, Blakey, and Lloyd. Obviously, we score it a bit differently from how the Swans do it, but some similarities, some differences. Stevo, how did you see us in the Brownlow, mate?
Oh, the Swans did well in the Brownlow. I mean, a team that comes in the grand final is going to get votes. Mills did really well, 21 votes. Parker, 16. Warner, 12, which is massive for a young guy. And then Franklin got 8, Heaney 7, and then we got Papley, Laddams, Goulden, McInerney. I can never say his name, I'm sorry.
Juzzy.
McCartan, Reed. Don't ask me to say Naismith. Juzzy, yeah. Tommy McCartan got a couple of votes. Reed did, and Lloyd. Interestingly, I found James Rowbottom didn't get any Brownlow votes, but he featured top 3 in the Swans best and fairest, and equal 4th in the fans, like our best and fairest, but didn't get a single one from the umpires. So it shows you the difference between what people who are coaching and following more fanatically week by week see in players compared to the umpires sometimes.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I'm trying to think back. There were definitely a couple of games there where you think he'd at least have gotten one, or on probably multiple occasions. But anyway, wasn't meant to be. But yeah, as we said, the top 5 players in both championships or award categories were the same, just in different order. But if you look at the 6 to 10, obviously the Swannies had T-Mac, Rampy, and Florent, whereas we had Papley, Franklin, and Blakey, and both had Goulden and Lloyd in the mix. So yeah, interesting to see how it all pans out in the end. But I think that the Swans do it a bit more. They sort of really reward hard effort and hard work, whereas ours and Brownlow is probably a bit more just, touches in front of the umpire to a degree, or goals, or impact on a game. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys see it like that?
Yeah, and I think especially coaches. I mean, coaches will know what the roles of the players are, so they'll have a very different way of thinking about how players are going as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. All right. Well, Jules, I might throw over to you. There are a few more awards there. So do you want to just list out the rest of the awards for the club?
Yeah, absolutely. The ever popular Chad Warner won the Players Player Award, and Will Hayward the best clubman, and Chad Warner again with most improved. So he really did have an absolutely stellar year, as we all know.
Yeah.
Our rising star was Errol Goulden, and our VFL Player of the Year was Will Gould. I think everyone's hoping that he will finally make his break into the AFL next year. And our VFL Squad Player of the Year was Harry Morrison.
Nice one. I sort of half expected Chad Warner just to take out all of those categories there. He plays VFL, then runs on to AFL, and is best on ground for both leagues. But yeah, no, what a year from Chad, and I'm sure we'll talk about him at length today. All right, other than those, we've got a few honourable mentions. Obviously, we like to look at the All-Australian squad. We had 4 who made the initial 40-man squad, and that was Heaney, Mills, Papley, and Warner. And then only in the end, Heaney and Mills making the final 22. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I think, it may be the one-eyed supporters in us, but I think a few Swans fans wanted to see Paddy McCartan in that extended squad.
Yeah.
He did have a very sensational start to the season. I think it was over the first 15 games, he was ranked number 1 in the AFL for intercept marks and number 5 for intercept possessions. So he really did set the game alight over those first few games, but probably just didn't quite maintain that form enough to knock the door down, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Stevo, any comments there before I move on?
Oh, yeah, I don't put too much weight on the All-Australian squad. You've got so many good players in the AFL. There's always going to be good players that don't get in. And even out of the 40 squad, you're still going to have good players that don't get in. And personally, I agree. Paddy McCartan was well deserving of being in there, but didn't get in. So who knows?
Yeah, it's good to have Heaney and Millsy rewarded. I think they're both first times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, because I remember last year we were calling, Millsy, he's got to be AA surely, and he's come out and knocked it out of the park, and here we are. So well done to both Millsy and Heat. Rising star, no Swannies this year. They all did their dash last year apparently, but we've still got a couple that could probably have a good crack next year. And we'll probably talk about some of those throughout. AFLPA nominations, best captain. This is a bit of a silly one, isn't it? They're automatically selected, Millsy, Rampy, and Parker. Best first-year player, Matty Roberts. I think he played the one game, didn't he?
Yeah, one I think.
One at
Richmond,
AFL.
maybe?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Most courageous, obviously, as we've just touched on, Paddy McCartan. What a story. MVP, Millsy, Chad, and Heaney. So, yeah, that makes sense for those 3 to be there. And finally, just quickly, 22 under 22. We spoke about this at the time, but we'll just recap it. There were an equal 6 high players selected from the Sydney Swans to make the squad with Fremantle, and they were Blakey, McCartan, Warner, Rowbottom, McInerney, Goulden. But in the end, only Blakey, T-Mac, and Chad made it. I think Blakey and Chad their first time, and Tommy McCartan his second year in a row. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good for him as well. good reward for a pretty hard position, and especially when you're that young, playing week on week against the key forwards of the comp. All right. Well, if you have nothing to add there, we've got the the admin out of the way. We're going to jump into the season summary now, and this is where, same as last year, I'm just going to shout out a few rolling topics, and we'll bounce around. I'll call out whose turn it is, and we'll see how we go. All right. So, season 2022 summary. What do we keep doing next year that we did this year? Jules, can you kick us off?
No problem. Yeah, look, I mean, we had a fantastic year, so there's probably a lot that we can keep doing.
Yeah.
We had a relatively quiet trade period, so that says to me that there's a lot of belief in our current list. So we need to keep this group together, continue to improve, to mount another challenge in 2023. I also feel like there's a really great vibe about the group. Culturally, there seems to be a lot of strong friendships and really good synergy. So this, I think just really speaks volumes about how everybody feels in our team playing football. They're happy guys. So let's keep our heads high and focus into next year.
Yeah, definitely, Stevo.
Keep believing in the younger players to keep playing these important roles on the field and growing into their roles and giving them opportunities. I mean, there's so many examples, but this year, like Warner and Rowbottom were both amazing. They really, really stepped up, and they're both 22 and under, like you just said in the previous section. Way more than we probably expected at the start of the year from both of them. And someone like Errol Goulden, he's playing like 150 gamer, and it's his second season. He just does it every week. And so giving these opportunities to these guys to really step up and be important senior players in the team.
Yeah, definitely. I reckon you've hit the nail on the head there, guys. For me, I think it's just keeping the faith. I think at the time we spoke about, Chris and I, care of Stevo's really good research. We looked at the teams that got smashed in grand finals and how they went the following year, and then even the next time before they were in a grand final, and the next time they won a flag. And some of the stats are, depending on where you look, are worse than others. But I think we just keep the faith. As for the reasons you've said, we've got a really good, strong young core. We've got good belief, a good vibe, and if we just believe we can get there again, I think we can. So that's my simple little take on that. What do we stop doing, Stevo?
Well, this is kind of the flip side of what I just said about believing in the young ones. On the other side of it, there's going to be some young ones we shouldn't expect too much too soon from. So we're going to have some of these ones who break out really quickly and become stars, like the Gouldens and the Warners and Rowbottom this year. But then some might need more time. So, guys like Logan McDonald, Braden Campbell, Will Gould, they're going to get every chance to show what they can do if they're good enough. And if they're good enough, they will. Dylan Stevens is a good example of this. He was one that I think a lot of fans were getting quite frustrated with. Is he going to make it? Have we just blown a top 5 draft pick on this kid? And this year, especially coming through the back half of the season, he became a really important player in the team and showed that he was absolutely worth the wait. And I think just be a bit patient with some of them.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. How about you, Jules?
Yeah, for me, it came up a fair bit during the season, but just losing our concentration when the game is in the balance. We had a terrific season with only 6 home and away losses, but I can count at least 4 of them as games where we went we went missing and we lost by under 3 goals to teams on paper we probably should have beaten. Mm-hmm. So I think inconsistency was our worst enemy at times. And to beat the best, we need to be consummate professionals week in, week out. So for me, it's just maintaining that focus during the games.
I can't add to that. I think you've smashed it out of the park there, guys. All right, what do we start doing? This is a bit more interesting, Stevo.
This is the massive question is there's going to be very soon a future without Buddy Franklin. We've got somewhere between 22 and 26. I know there's going to be an extra game next year, isn't there? Between 23 and 27 more games of Buddy Franklin in the forward line, maximum. And then after that, there's going to be a giant void down there. So even if he's not kicking goals like he didn't in the back half of the finals, he wasn't really hitting the scoreboard, but he's still a very important part of that forward line. He's got a presence. Sam Reed's getting towards the end. He's got injury problems again, and who knows how long he's around. There's going to have to be a new target or targets up there, and that's what we need to start thinking about, is that this is going to change very quickly before we realise they'll be gone.
Before we throw over to Jules, just a question without notice, Stevo. So what do we do there? Who do we start bringing in more of those younger tools that we've been speaking? We've seen show glimpses throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, in Logan McDonald, there's definitely a generational full forward in him. He looks like he's coming along really well. Keeping him, and then he's going to need a support crew, though, is the challenge. And we can probably talk about this a bit later on. I think we talk about in a subsequent point. But yeah, the other ones beside him at the moment aren't quite at his level, so there's going to have to be some change up there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Over to you, Jules.
Yeah, look, I've put the focus on Tom Papley. I wouldn't mind seeing a fair bit more midfield minutes for him. By my rough calculation, he seems to have spent about 20% of his game time this year in the middle. I'd like to see that increase a bit. I think we've probably missed a trick with in terms of getting Tom in the game. By having him at more centre bounces. It can be a pretty lonely place being a small forward, and at times I think we probably just could have injected his enthusiasm and run into the game a bit earlier by putting him in the midfield. So I'd like to see more of that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that they're both fair points, and start doing. Yeah, as we've kind of touched on already, it was such a pleasing season in when you look at it from now, obviously the grand final aside. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just keep rolling on. But start doing. Yeah. Look, I've got nothing to add here. Chris, have you got anything here, mate?
No, I think Jules and Steve absolutely nailed that. I think they're really good points. I think one thing that and I'm a little bit biased here potentially and strongly, I think, I would love to see Juzzy also try to find a way to get him in the game a little bit more. I think as he started finding his way on the wing, it's taken him a bit of time to get in there, and it seemed like he wasn't enjoying himself as much as when he's in the mix and getting tackles in and just being a general pest. So maybe he's a bit of a dark horse to throw up forward and see what he does with it, although it's not really his style. He runs a lot more, but I'm just looking forward to seeing him getting engaged a bit more. So I think his injection is it's got a similar vibe to what Papley does. It's got a bit of energy and a bit of mongrel about him. That's
barometer, yeah. I mean, he did kind of dip a bit after he got that extension. We were wondering if he was injured, but yeah, I'm with you, mate. I think if he can come out of the blocks running, then that just strengthens us across the park as well. So yeah, fair call there, mate. All right, I'm going to throw back to the other. What were your favourite moments, or what was your one favourite moment to make it more tricky? Actually, what were your several favourite moments? Come on, I'm not going to be that harsh. Jules, over to you. I'm seesawing here, but yeah, over to you, Jules.
Oh, goodness. I'm glad that you've given me a few, because it was a ripping season, let's face it, for 99.9% of it.
Exactly.
Look, my favourite moment was our qualifying final against the D's at the G. This was the game that gave us every reason to believe. The D's had just come off their 10-goal thumping against the Lions. It was a big contest, seesawing battle until the final 40 minutes or so. And we seized the big moments and defended like our lives depended on it, and secured us a home prelim, which, as we all know, was extremely important. So look, that was it for me. I think that kind of really showed me what our blueprint could look like, in the next few years in terms of how we go about our business. So that was really impressive. In terms of other favourite moments, the hours before the grand final, I think shared with the Bevy crew, that was pretty special, full of hope and anticipation.
Yeah, it was a good feeling. It was a good. Everything was. There was so much possibility in the world.
That's right. And look, Melbourne, really did embrace it. Obviously, a couple of years without the grand final with all of the COVID sort of struggles. So yeah, just an unbelievable vibe down there before the big dance. And my final one, Buddies 1000.
Yeah, definitely.
Hard to beat.
Yeah. So yeah. How about you, Stevo?
Yeah, look, like Jules, it was a great season. There's lots of good moments, but that qualifying final win, I have that was my favourite one. And there's something nice about winning a qualifying final, and then going into the next week and just knowing that we're in the next game, and we do one more game. and getting to watch the footy for a week and thinking, okay, I'm totally relaxed from this, and I can watch these two teams smash each other up, and we play one of them, and that was a nice feeling. I really enjoyed that. And then the first half of the prelim was nice, and the second half was awful. But I've recovered from that too. But besides that, I mean, like what Jules said, and we heard from Kenny Williams at the beginning of the episode on the recording. And watching games live with Swans people was great for me. I mean, I haven't watched much footy with Swans people for a long time. Like, I'm living in Finland, as a lot of people probably know from other episodes that I've been on, and I don't have any real sort of like Aussie Swans fans mates here. There are various other clubs. One's a Geelong fan. He was very, very gracious after the game, which was kind of him. He didn't get mean. He's not like a Pies fan would. But it was a really good year for watching games with people. I mean, I spent my brother lives in Canada, and I spent a couple of weeks there, and so we saw the first two games of the season together on telly. So I got to watch those two games with him, which was the first time we'd watched footy together for probably 3 or 4 years. Then I got to meet Chris in Singapore for the Richmond game. Randomly enough, me and Chris were in Singapore at the same time. We went to some pub and watched the Swans get over Richmond, which was amazing, with another mate, Dave of ours, who's also a Swans fan. And then meeting all you from the Bevy, I managed to get to Australia for my first home games for the SCG for like 4 or 5 years, and meeting all you guys for the Crows and Giants games was really great. They were the highlights of my season personally, I think. And I'm going to add this, even though it's not Swans, but the Turku Dockers, my team here in Finland that plays in the Finnish league, we knocked off the heavily favoured Helsinki Heat Seekers and won the Finland AFL flag this year. So big shout out to the Dockers. Yeah.
Nice one. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a lot of feel-good moments in all of those. I guess I'm with you, both of you. I mean, Buddy's 1000th to basically started off. I took my son to his first game of footy in round one out at the Giants, thinking that Buddy would have a crack, and obviously didn't do it. So with my partner, we came to the second round and against Geelong at the SCG, and we're all there, and Chriso took a bunch of awesome videos that night as well when we all jumped on the field. But yeah, taking my son down on the field was a really good moment for our family, because we did the same things when Plugger kicked his 1300th with me and my siblings. We ran on the field, so these are memories that we've had our whole lives, and it was really nice to be able to pass that on to my own growing family. Same as Jules. That buzz before the grand final was just fantastic, and those beers were delicious, and I'll always remember them. And also taking my family, we took 3 boys under 2 years old, 2 years of age to the grand final. So that was a logistical challenge in itself. And also, Stevo, catching up with you, mate. We went to school together and haven't seen, we've seen each other a few times over the years, but it was fantastic to be able to finally come together and watch the game of footy, because we really connected over the Swans in high school, and we were probably outliers, I think. But it was fantastic to be able to close that loop. And also, I will add, going to the footy with Jules for the first time, I thought that was a very special moment for me. I think we won that one, didn't we, Jules? Which game was that?
Yes, it was Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that felt good.
Yeah. That was, I said that was one of Stevo's games as well, wasn't it? So, everyone was there that day. It was a really good feeling, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I can add to that before I forget. Yeah, another thing, watching the reserves afterwards. I remember was it the Crows game or the Giants one, whichever one it was, and they had the reserves on after, and me and my dad were sitting up in the trumpet stand, and then Noddy and Chris and his brother come bucketing up the stairs and join us to watch the reserves. That was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. My dad loved that too. So
awesome.
So that was a great memory.
Thanks for putting up with us. I mean, I'll speak for myself. We're pretty cut. So
yeah, I was going to jump in there and say, like, we weren't in our best, our most happiest, if let's just say that. So that was fun. Yeah.
Can't believe they served us those beers for the VFL.
They emptied the fridge into your backpack almost, didn't they?
That was awesome.
Yeah, bless them.
All right, so we've gone through the highs, guys. We're going to go straight over to the lows. What was the low point?
All right,
Stevo.
I'll start. Okay.
Stevo.
Well, I mean, the obvious. We don't need to go over that too much more, I suppose.
Yep.
But One other thing for me that was a bit of a shame was Josh Kennedy having to end the year on the injury list and not getting to go out on his own terms and have a farewell game. And I know that that's football and that happens, but he's been a great player at the club for a long time and very respected across the AFL from what it seems. So it would have been nice to have, a more fitting farewell for him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's true. How about you, Jules?
Yeah, he didn't get his Joel Selwood moment, did he?
No.
Oh, Joel, he had too many moments, that guy. He was too selfish.
Didn't he just?
Too many moments, Joel. Go home.
If you were to ever write your exit from the game, that would be it, right?
He couldn't have done it better, could he? I reckon he must have had a PR person working for him because that was just a next
Hollywood.
level, wasn't it? Yeah,
100%. Yeah, look, the low point. The low point team wise, I mean, look, saving our worst performance all year for footy's biggest stage. I know the Stevo, you didn't want to go into it, but
you can.
That's it for me. Look, I've thrown another one in there, and that was our round 16 match against Essendon.
Oh yeah.
That's a moment I'd rather not ever relive. That was an absolutely appalling game. Certainly, I think that was the moment, though, that our season turned around. So maybe it was the low point we needed to then, surge and make a real attempt, and make it all the way to the granny. So yeah, look.
Yep.
That's it for me.
I'm gonna drill down on one thing, and it's going to sound really harsh, but I want to just preface this by saying I have huge hopes for Laddams next year. Okay, but when he did that brain fade in the VFL, and then the team played out as it did with question marks over Sammy Reid and all that sort of stuff. That for me, when I think back on the season, I think how more competitive would we have been if we'd had a bit more tall structure? And I think that was particularly disappointing given the hype that he came in with and he showed a lot throughout. He really did, but obviously while showing good signs, he'd shown a few brain fades. So I'm really hopeful that he can get it together in the off season. I'm not saying that was the lowest point of the season, but it was just one thing that sticks out in my mind as shoulda, coulda, woulda. What may have happened,
Yeah,
so,
I'm planning to get stuck into him a little bit later.
Apologies, Jules. Sorry, I might have stolen you.
No, absolutely not. No, I think what he did was beyond selfish.
Yeah.
Let's all just hope that it never happens again.
Yep. Fingers crossed. All right. Well, we've sort of covered it in the first half of the episode, but who was your best and fairest? Go to you, Jules.
Yeah, Captain Mills, look, he's our most important player by a country mile.
Yeah.
One thing I would point out, though, and it became more and more apparent as the season went on, the gap between our stars, our really, really good players and the rest of the group significantly narrowed this year. So some of the star power dropped off a bit, but I think the improvement across the board was just absolutely sensational. So that's just one thing that I noted as the season went on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. How about you, Stevo?
I like Mills, by a mile. He's such a good player, and it was really nice to see him this year get a bit more reward and recognition from the AFL, VFL establishment, both the league itself and the media finally starting to notice that, this guy is elite. So Mills. And then Warner. I mean, is he 20, 21? He's not that old, is he? He's about 21
He's not 22
years old.
yet. Yeah, I think he's 21.
Yeah. And 22. He became an absolute game-breaking match winner this year. He was amazing, really, when you think of how much he's developed. I mean, he was the player's player and the most improved in those awards you just read out before. So that tells you just how spectacular this season is. And I think it will take maybe a bit of hindsight to think just how amazing his jump this year was.
Yeah, totally. It was coming, but I don't think it was coming clear enough to know how well he was going to go how well his year went. Best on ground in the grand final, obviously. Scenes of him crying afterwards, so you can see it means a lot to him. But I'm with you guys, Mills, Warner. I think that's a pretty easy one. But I think Jules' point about that gap between our best and our next rank or next rung of players is a very, very good point. And one hopefully we can work at leveling out in the years ahead. ideally. I think it was his 21 points in the Brownlow. Sorry, Millsy. I think it was 7th overall. So that's pretty incredible. I think pretty good finish, and obviously that was the segue into the AA. I think, but all right, who were we most surprised by? And we'll kick off with Stevo here.
For me, it was Rowbottom, which sounds maybe strange because he had a great season. But at the end of last year, I was a bit, he's a good player and he deserves to be in an AFL team. But is he ever going to be more than just solid and like a good role player? And this year, he really stepped up and grew into that role, that sort of tough ball winning, get it forward inside midfield role, and did an amazing job. So he was the one for me. I really didn't have massive expectations of him at the start of the year, and he blew it out of the water.
Yep. Jules.
Yeah, there were some out of this world improvements by quite a few of the boys, which came as a rather big surprise. But the biggest one for me was Ryan Clark. He spent the best part of 18 months in the VFL and then went on to play our final 12 games, including a grand final, which if anybody had told us that at the beginning of the year, we all would have thought you have got to be joking me.
Yeah.
Same.
He was on the D list pile, I think, for this year. So an absolutely stunning turnaround.
Yeah, definitely really saved him, or, got a few extra lives there in that, as you say, that 12 game run there. For me, I think it was, and not like it's a bit sort of not most surprised, but I was happy with Dill Stevens' continued development. And then by the time he was sort of, feeling a bit more comfortable in his skin, they were the games where you could see he's got some real talent. So not surprised because we knew it was coming, but I guess just satisfied that he was able to sort of get the form we were hoping for. So I've basically changed the topic to suit my response. So my bad there. All right. Let's move on to, all right, here's a good one. All right. What positions do we need to bolster to improve our list? Noting that we brought in Francis, as you mentioned earlier in the episode. Jules, so over to you. Sorry.
Sure, yeah, no, of course. Look, I've pulled out two positions. The first one being the ruck. I'm pretty sure I had this one last year as well. I'm still not convinced. We've just obviously seen Naismith. Is the poor luckless Naismith is finally now gone. Hickey has been great, but there have been a number of warning bells in regards to his durability. He's gone down a few times over the course of the season, and realistically, given his age and his journeyman status, he's not really a long-term option. Which brings me to our friend Peter Adams.
Ah, yes. Okay. Gotcha.
So, to Peter. I just want him to take a really good, hard look at himself over the off-season and decide if he wants to be an AFL footballer.
Yep.
Because if not, we need to figure something else out and fast. So the option is probably there on our list in terms of filling this ruck void, but yeah, I need to see more.
Yep.
My other area of slight concern, and it's been raised very well by Stevo earlier in regards to it being Buddy's last dance this year, is the key forward situation. So Logan is developing. That's awesome. He will be fantastic. Our big jumbo jet. Yeah. But aside from him, there's not a lot of depth. Amadi and McLean would need to dramatically improve to become viable key forwards. So, look, we've got another year of Buddy and Reed, to kind of to get in there as well. So we've got a little bit of time for development to happen, but if it doesn't happen, we are going to need to look to acquire some talent through another avenue.
Yep. How about you, Stevo?
Oh, I think Jules has picked out exactly where the big holes are. I mean, the ruck, yep, and Laddams is a real question mark, hey, because he's got plenty of talent. He was getting Brownlow votes as a ruckman.
4 Brownlow points.
Like he's not shy for talent, but I mean, two incidents, one the AFL, one the VFL, and like I know you never know what's going on in people's lives and what happens off the field and stuff, but still, it's certainly got to be a concern. And hopefully, yeah, like Jules said, he can get it sorted out and move forward and become a good AFL player. Or a backup needs to be found really quick because it's a breakable Tom Hickey, a questionable Adams, and then what after that? Now that Sinclair's gone,
rugby player.
yeah,
Stretch.
guy, this guy who's never even really, we don't know much about at all. And then that's the ruck depth. So
Yeah.
definitely the rucks. And then the forwards. I mean, if we look at the other parts of the field, midfield, I think we're spoilt for talent. In fact, I don't know how we're going to afford to keep more on the list because some are going to have to want to go somewhere else to get a game almost. There's that many young midfielders coming through. The back line, I think, looks pretty solid. Rampy's going to leave, but then you can always repurpose defenders from other parts of the field. So that's not too much of a concern really either. But the forwards is a big gap because Franklin's going to go. Reed's soon going to go. That leaves a 20-year-old, very raw Logan McDonald and like Jules said, Marty McLean, who so far haven't shown anything that suggests they're going to be, dominant key forwards. They can be solid contributors for sure, but not someone to build a forward line around. And the only way you normally get them, if you look at the Coleman Medal, the top names, almost all of them go first round in the draft. So you've got to get a key forward either from the draft or from a trade. They don't just get plucked out of nowhere. But conveniently enough, we actually have a guy who was drafted number 1 as a key forward on our list in the same year that Isaac Heaney was drafted, called Paddy McCartan, who maybe it's time. Maybe he's the answer. I don't know. I mean, I know people have concerns with his health and stuff, but if you can back into a pack and take a contested mark as a third man up, you can lead out and take a mark in front of your face. You're still getting risk getting hit in the head. So maybe Paddy McCartan is a possible answer. Him and McDonald would be a very very exciting forward combination for the next while.
Yeah, I like that. I like that very much. I'm not going to add to that because I think you've nailed it. All right, what was your overall score out of 10 for the season? And we'll go with Stevo.
I actually looked at last year's review because it was on the same run sheet as this, and I had the stuff from last year. Last year, I said I was hoping for 3rd to 6th and win a final, and they did that and then blew it out of the park. So 9.5 out of 10. I never expected to get to the grand final, and we got done. But we got there, and only one other team besides us got there. So that's a pretty good season. So 9.5 out of 10.
How about you, Jules?
Yeah, I found myself in a bit of a pickle here because I gave them a 9 last year and they finished 6. So I didn't leave myself a lot of bandwidth. So I'm going to go with a 10 because it was a terrific year, and based on expectations, them making a grand final was just out of this world amazing. So if they happen to go one better next year, I'll just find a new scoring system.
Yeah, right, 11. The old, this is Spinal Tap, crank it up to 11.
That's it.
I think I gave about an 8.5, I think, last year. So I'm going to go with 9 this year. Are you there, Chriso?
Yeah, mate, I'm 100% with you, a 9.
Yep.
We weren't, what Jules is suggesting too, we kind of pushed our own boundaries last year and we're kind of happy where we were in that progression. And this year we went that and then leaps and bounds. So I'm going to go with a 9.9 following Jules' expectations there. So I don't know what I'll do for next year if we do win it. Jules will have to work out some way to move it to some kind of something else. How many?
The 5th dimension or something. We'll figure it out.
We just add numbers that don't exist.
That's it. All right. Okay. What are our predictions for how the Swannies will go in 2023? And we'll kick off with Jules.
Yeah, we've seen a glimpse, haven't we, of what we can do. So success can, bring about expectation, but pressure is a privilege after all. So after our, year this year, another top 4 finish really is the goal, and anything less than that, let's face it, will be seen as, at least externally, a bit of a failure. Given we haven't had any major losses from our list, provided we can stay healthy, I would only expect us to improve. So I've got pretty high aspirations.
I like that. How about you, Stevo?
Yeah, I agree. Top 4 and win a final. And if you finish top 4 and win a final, you go to a prelim final. That's just how the system works. So then you get to a prelim, and who knows what happens after that. but definitely top 4 win a final. And look, I don't expect a big slide that some in the media are harping on about, really. This is the same team. It just made a grand final. They're going to get better because they're a young team, so there's improvement. It's not like they're going to plateau and drop off. And nor was this team a side that finished like 5th or 6th or whatever and made a grand final and got trashed. They just lost the game. And besides that, this was clearly the second best side across a home away season, and they lost the grand final. There's no reason they can't keep improving, or at least stay top 4.
Yeah, definitely, and Chriso and I went into great depth as to the why it was the Cats' turn, and I think everyone knows it was well documented. They were very experienced and they had a very good first and third quarter, and that really for me was what did it for us. Obviously, there were a few other reasons that we didn't put together, but yeah, I'm with you guys. Top 4 and one final win. All right, let's move over to 3 quick fire questions. And I want you guys to just answer all 3 when it's your turn. Which player who was missing from the grand final are you most keen to see run out in round 1 of 2023? Who are you giving an end of season bonus to and why? And what are you most looking forward to for season 2023? We'll go with Stevo.
Okay, should I go through all 3 questions in a row?
Yeah, just bang, bang, bang.
All right. I want to see Braden Campbell. I technically played as a sub, but Braden Campbell, his kicking is a weapon, and I hope he becomes a regular next year. End of season bonus is going to Ryan Clark for the reasons Jules mentioned before. He had a great year. And the 2023, I want to see Errol Goulden named on the wing in the All-Australian team and Chad Warner in the centre.
You heard it here first.
That's where it's going to start. Yep.
Awesome. How about you, Jules?
Thanks. Yeah, just to add to Stevo's point about Braden Campbell, he lives near me, and I have seen him pounding the pavement up and down Manly Beach. He looks fit and firing.
Awesome. I love this inside goss.
So let me tell you, there are big things coming. So I love that one.
Awesome.
But look, for me, I've gone with the jumbo jet, Logan McDonald.
Yep.
He is going to be humming with a fire in his belly.
Oh.
Look out, round 1.
Yep.
My end of season bonus, I'm giving it to Jeremy Ladler. Because he's been our head coach in the VFL for the last 5 years. And I know that he is now moving on. He's moving across to GWS, but he's been hugely underrated in fast-tracking our development of our young guys. And as I understand it, had a pretty critical role in assisting and supporting Paddy McCartan to move to defence. So Jeremy is getting the big fat bonus check this year for me. In terms of what I'm looking forward to, this year totally blew my mind in terms of how quickly some of our young guns improved. So I just can't wait to see what next year has in store for them as they continue to grow in confidence to take the game on, and see who else pops up and has an absolutely stellar year.
All right. Okay, for me, I'm going to go with both of what you said, Braden and Logan, for the reasons you both said. Bonus, look, I'm probably going to get a few boos from the crowd here, but Buddy kicked 50 goals again, right? So let's give him, another 10K or something? Not that he needs more money, but that's a pretty, good on him, okay, that's enough from Noddy. All right, and Gould, come on, Gould, come on, mate, have a crack. That's me. I really want to see the big Gould get out and show us what he can do. So that's that. All right, we're going to move on to some trade chat. So just a quick update on the Swans end of season list and trade space at the moment. Obviously retirements, Josh Kennedy, as we've touched on, Colin O'Riordan and Cal Sinclair. Delistings were James Bell, Naismith, Barry O'Connor, Ronk and Taylor. And then the trades, obviously, we got Aaron Francis and pick 42, and Essendon got our 37 and a future 4th round pick. All right. General thoughts on extensions and delistings. And we're going to go extensions, retirements, delistings, and Francis. And maybe we'll go one each so we don't get too lost on this. So, Jules, how about the extensions?
Yeah, this has felt like the gift that's kept on giving this year. It's been one contract extension after another, which is amazing. So, in terms of keeping this group together and holding on to our talent, I'm just so stoked to see all of those come through. The most recent one that brought me a huge amount of joy, given the risk that we had of losing him to the Blues, was Tom Papley.
Yeah.
yeah, I was stoked about that. So
Awesome. Stevo?
I was glad Gould got another year. I reckon there was a temptation to just, give up and throw away your chips on him. But one more year he's got to show it, and let's see if he can. I really hope he can.
Yep. And I'll just add, I'll sort of pad out Jules's comment there. When they started going Millsy 2029 and Heaney 28 and Juzzy 27, McCartan 25 or 6 or whatever, and then Papley 26, 27. It's just fantastic, just shoring up the young core. So, yeah, it was really good run of news there. So just echoing Jules's point there. All right, let's go to retirements. Back to Jules.
yeah, look, Callum Sinclair, very versatile and great player for us. And what stands out to me most about Callum's time with us was that he really stood out during those really tough years. He really paddled it out in the ruck, up forward, wherever we needed him. We were so lucky to have him. So he will be missed. And look, it goes without saying, Josh Kennedy, we're going to miss him a lot. He meant so much to us fans. Champion gets thrown around a lot, but he is a genuine champion of our club.
Yeah.
And, will go down, as one of the greats.
Yeah, I love that. Stevo?
Yeah, I agree with Jules. I mean, Sinclair was an absolute warrior of a player. He was really valuable at times, and then his depth will be missed this year, I imagine, unless they can replace him. Kennedy, yeah, I mean, what can we say about him? And then O'Riordan retired. I mean, technically, I guess he retired. He was quite young, but he, I guess, had injury problems and stuff. So he's retired. I mean, he was a depth player anyway, so his loss will be easily covered.
Yeah, I mean, he was one that could have gone either way. Like, he showed some promise at times, but yeah, I think the injuries got in the way. But I bumped into him on the morning of the grand final up in the stand. We were there. I was like, double took. I was like, oh, it's Cole. But I, in my admiration, forgot to get a photo. So that's my very boring anecdote. Okay, all right, let's go to delistings. Now this is a bit juicier. All right, Jules.
Yeah, a number, but I feel like all these guys were given a really good chance to succeed.
Yeah.
I was particularly sad, in regards to Bell and Ronke. Both at different times did show a bit of promise, but unfortunately just weren't able to make the most of their opportunities. So it's just part and parcel, I'm afraid, of AFL list management. You just can't hold on necessarily to everybody, so it enables space for others.
Yep. Stevo?
Yeah, agree. I mean, in terms of list structure, Naismith is probably the biggest loss there because it affects the ruck depth because you've got Sinclair retired and him gone. And that only leaves Laddams, Hickey, and then this very, very raw young fella, McAndrew. So that's probably the one I think is the most damaging, losing him. All the others, as Jules said, they've had a chance and they just couldn't make it. I'm not even sure if any of them... I mean, maybe Ronke could get a game at another club if they'd want him, but then would they want a mid-20s guy to come onto a list? Maybe a developing team like a North or Suns, maybe. But yeah, really, none of them were going to get jumped all over by other teams, and then no big loss either to the Swans in terms of on-field.
Yeah. I thought the same as you there, Stevo, about Ronk, but hasn't been picked up yet. There's obviously still the preseason draft where he could have a chance, but we'll see how we go. All right, let's move on to Francis. Okay, Jules.
Yeah, look, this one seemed like a no-brainer to me in the end. Low-risk move, bringing him in, high draft pick, could be anything.
Yep.
So let's see.
Yep.
Very versatile player from what I hear. Can, play up forward if need be, tap hit in the ruck, possibly jump into defence. So, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, nice one, Stevo.
Yeah, totally. I don't know that much about him, but he brings depth. He brings some flexibility to go into this, post-Franklin Reid Rampy era. And he was, pick number 6, is that right? Or 8 in his draft? He was quite high, I remember. Like, it's certainly a top 10 pick. And if you're a top 10 pick, at the very least, it means that the player has talent. And that various other things have happened for whatever reason that he hasn't established himself yet as an AFL player. But at least in that early time, he was identified as being very, very good compared to the others of his age. So that's always there.
Yep. It's got a little bit of Paddy McCartan for me on this one. That very as Jules said, low risk and sky's the limit. And I think he was a South Australian who went to the Bombers and suffered from a bit of homesickness and then injury, but then had an amazing year in 2018. If you look at some of his highlight reel, it really is incredible. So if you can bring some of that, as you say, Stevo, if you're a top 10 pick, you got talent, and you just got to be able to put it together. And sometimes you need the right environment for that. So I think this is a pretty good move. I've also heard he can pinch hit as a midfielder. So 193 centimetre midfielder. Look out, Paddy Cripps. But I think more so for that swing role. But I think this was another good low risk move, as Jules said, by the club. So well played there, Swannies, I think. All right, well, I think we've got through it. I think that actually brings us to the end of the summary. Actually, I'll just throw over to Chriso. Have you got any anything else to add to the season review, mate, before we move on to a bit of closing admin?
I mean, aside from the fact that this season, in terms of the Bevy generally, was a big push for us. I think we put a fair amount of effort into the socials and into the potty, and it's totally been reciprocated by the fans. So we've actually had a really good run and met some fantastic people along the way. It's just the final game of the season kind of left it in a bit of like a meh. But all in all, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think the last thing to kind of point out is the passing of Kenny Williams. Super Swans fan number one for however long you could imagine. As far as it's one of those ones where, as far as I've considered the Swans as an existing thing, he's been there. So it's like a bit of a end of an era, it feels like, and I don't know, a little bit fitting that we have so many young players in the mix. It kind of feels like there's a whole new world ahead of us and a whole new vibe. So rest in peace, Kenny, and hopefully the young boy is doing proud into the future.
Yeah, no, well said, mate. I like that. All right, so a little bit of closing admin. Upcoming shows, we'll probably aim to do a bit of a trade and draft wrap episode at some point next month, certainly before Christmas. So keep your eyes and ears open and out for that release or announcement on our socials. Otherwise, if everyone else is good, I'm gonna close us off. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I'd like to thank Jules, Stevo, and Chriso for joining us today. It was obviously awesome catching up with you, having been to games this year with both of you. And look forward to you guys hopping on the show more regularly next year, schedule permitting. But just thank you, Jules and Stevo.
Thanks so much for having us. Yeah, amazing.
Great to be here.
Yep, love your insight. Bloody legends. All right, so on behalf of the Bevy, I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone listening in. We look forward to you joining us next time. Make sure to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and other socials at A Bevy of Bloods for updates and announcements. Until then, up the Bloods and can you swans?